sports can build bridges and cross cultural barriers. Nowhere is that more evident than in Rwanda. There's an organization here in Colorado that's trying to encourage children in Rwanda to pick up a soccer ball instead of weapons.
Makes sense. In his work with ProjectCure, Michael Ditchfield has become a goodwill ambassador. ProjectCure provides millions of dollars worth of much-needed medical supplies to Africa. And through his work with ProjectCure, Michael has developed the Sports for Peace Foundation. It shows kids how to come together as a team and hope for something better than their past. Michael joins us now. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
This is such an important topic, so we're glad you're sharing with us. How did you get involved with Africa?
About 3 years ago with Noel Cunningham and Tammy Cunningham, they were going over to Ethiopia, and they convinced me that destinations are everywhere and that the world is a large place with a lot of needs and a lot of wants. And so I made the trip to Ethiopia and raised money for soccer uniforms for Project Mercy, and that was the first stepping stone. And a lot of people can look at it as a stumbling block in the world, but it was a stepping stone for me, and changed my life.
As an old soccer player yourself, you certainly have a passion for soccer. And,
absolutely.
You know, many people wonder, Michael, you know, whether their money and their goods are reaching the people that they want them to reach. You know, is that a concern, and how do you guys address that?
Well, if you take Harry Potter, on July the 16th, 2005, 9 million copies reached the destination on that one day in England and America. But we can't get 12-cent malaria shots and medication to children in Africa. Yeah. So we have this big plan, but at the bottom there's no connection with reality. And it is the poor that are the measuring stick for the future of the world. And ProjectCure is one of those organizations that actually makes sure it gets to its destination, whether they are medical supplies or, in our case, soccer uniforms.
Great.
And your role with ProjectCure is fascinating as a Goodwill Ambassador. Tell us what you do.
Well, as a Goodwill Ambassador, I'm getting more into a needs and assessment. ProjectCure goes where the United Nations don't go. It's an organization that started in 1987. It's raised close to $1 billion in terms of money that has been raised and medical goods that have reached their destination. Rwanda and Ethiopia are two of the largest countries that we actually involve ourselves in.
You know, why has it been working so well in those two countries?
Well, if you look at Rwanda, that is the jewel of Africa right now. You had an incredible event in 1994 with the genocide. I mean, it's something that should not have happened, and I think the world regrets it. And I think you look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia is about self-sufficiency, but it's also about survival. Rwanda is about restoring a self-dignity, with 400,000 orphans still left there who witnessed what was going on. And that's why sports, if you can keep them active, they won't be able to retaliate, because they're at the age right now where they can comprehend. And you have over 60% of the population that are under 16 years of age. And you've got 400,000 orphans, a population of 8 million, 5 million who live on less than $1 a day, and 49% of the parliament are women. So it's the children and the women that are the future for Rwanda.
Wow. That's so sad. And a lot of people just don't understand the impact that the genocide had in Rwanda back in 1994. I mean, some of us have seen the movie Hotel Rwanda. But what is your feelings, personal feelings on the tragic event?
Well, having been over there and actually having been to the actual hotel, if only it was that good. I mean, the movie certainly portrays what happens, and we come back to General Dallaire over there for the United Nations and what he could have done. He was an individual that made it work. And again, we come back to what's happening in Rwanda, and now they're looking to build a foundation of self-dignity again.
You know, talk about the role Colorado, you know, through ProjectCure and soccer, the whole 9 yards.
They all tied together. ProjectCure certainly allowed me a stepping stone to use sport, and it's the only place in the world where sport right now is being used. There in South Africa, we just arrived at the airport, and with all the uniforms that have been donated by money from the people of Colorado, people like Tom Shane, Brandon Spencer, and the people that were there were so receptive to what we were doing. You can see there that they're greeting us with something that they have inside their heart. They wanted it.
Yeah.
They saw that they don't want a handout, they want a hand up.
Yeah.
And they're receiving the uniforms, and the look in their eyes.
Betcha.
It was amazing. And the same soccer field that we did that clinic right there, that's where 300 children were massacred. And that's the first time that laughter has been brought to that one space.
Wow. Wow.
And through the very fabric of a uniform can become a fabric of hope.
There you go.
I now understand what you mean when you said it was a life-changing event. What do you mean when you say that you view the West as letting the third world down?
The West, it's between planners and searchers. Planners are the ones who raise the money, the entertainers, the musicians. We've raised $2.7 trillion in the last 50 years, but very little has got through. Sharon Stone raised $1 million for mosquito nets, but they were on the black market being used for wedding veils. They were used for fishing nets. So you've got to make sure that what you have gets through.
Yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier about, the Harry Potter books and how easily we can get those distributed, but we have these medical supplies. Is part of the problem the distribution? Once they get to the countries, the distribution of it is difficult, or where's the disconnect?
Your
there?
measuring stick for the third world are your poor people. They're the ones who can give you that feedback if you listen. Raising the money is one aspect.
Yeah.
Getting the actual medication, getting the actual medical supplies, getting the soccer uniforms actually there. We have to work more with the searchers, the people who are actually over there, because you're dealing with a lot of corruption in government. So you have the World Bank, you have the International Monetary Fund. They're giving money to the government. It doesn't happen like that. You've got to get to the poor, to the grassroots for them
Michael,
to do
before we close, I have to ask you about malaria because it's as deadly as AIDS. What can we do about that?
Well, Richard Branson in England is he's such an advocate of DDT, and residual spraying of the huts is the only solution, because malaria is worse death than AIDS in terms of the way it affects the body. So malaria has to be treated, and DDT is one of the ways in terms of that residual spraying, along with the malaria medication.
Thank you for all you do, buddy.
Thanks, pal.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
All right. By golly, for more information about how you can get involved in the Sports for Peace Foundation and the work Project Cure is doing in Rwanda and elsewhere, go online to projectcure.org.